Reading with your kids.
Hola, ni hao, konnichiwa, assalamu alaikum, shalom, jambo, bienvenidos. Hi, my name is Jedley, and this is the Reading with Your Kids podcast. We're coming to you from the beautiful neighborhood of Reedville in the southwest corner of Boston, Massachusetts. Please be sure to subscribe to the show on the iHeartRadio app, on Spotify, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, wherever you find your podcast. Our guest today is Jayne Jones. She is the author of The Official Adventures. Are you looking for something fun and adventurous to do with your kids? Well, if you are in the greater Boston area, you want to check out two of our upcoming live events. The first one we want to tell you about is happening on April 5th. It's South Shore Kids Expo at the Kingston Collection. We're going to be down there with a whole lot of other fantastic artists and kid service providers. It's happening April 5th in the afternoon at Kingston Collection, South Shore Kids Expo. And a few weeks before that, on March 21st, we will be in the beautiful neighborhood of East Boston, Massachusetts, at the East Boston branch of the Boston Public Library. It's Reading with Your Kids Day at the East Boston branch. We are going to be there all afternoon presenting magic shows, magic workshops, story times, a great parenting workshop from our friend Steve DeRogers at the Boston Public Schools Parent University. We're going to be giving away all sorts of wonderful books, and we would love for you to join us. East Boston is one of my favorite places in the world. It is where I kind of got my wings. I had my very first apartment in East Boston. It's such a wonderfully diverse and beautiful neighborhood. You want to check it out. And the East Boston branch of the Boston Public Library is one of the most spectacular public libraries you'll find. It's happening March 21st, Reading with Your Kids Day at the East Boston branch of the Boston Public Library. And also be sure to check us out at South Shore Kids Expo at the Kingston Collection on April 5th. Two amazing live events happening in the greater Boston area this spring. Joining us online right now from the Sarasota area in Florida, she is the author of a great series called The Official Adventures. Please welcome to the show, Jayne Jones. Jayne, how are you?
I am fantastic.
Really happy to have you here on the show talking about The Official Adventures. And oddly enough, you're in Florida, and we're going to be talking about a series of books that celebrates hockey.
Yeah, absolutely. Of course. You know, hockey is one of America's greatest sports that goes from coast to coast, from north to south.
Yeah, it really does. It really does. And that wasn't true when I was growing up. And, my first hockey game that I went to see the Bruins play, I think it was the Bruins against the Canadians. And at that time, there were only 6 teams in the league, and they were all in the Northeast. Right. It was Boston, Chicago, New York, Montreal, Toronto. Detroit, and it's exploded. I mean, it's hard to believe that there's
it has exploded.
A championship team in Las Vegas, Nevada.
A good team last year.
Yeah. So let's just get into it. How did you catch the hockey bug?
Well, I was born in northern Minnesota, so that's definitely the state of hockey, as we like to claim our fame. And my brother, I had 2 older brothers. Both brothers played hockey. One went to continue on to play semi-pro after college. I was the rink rat sister from birth until he stopped playing. So even in college, I went to his games every single weekend. And I love the sport. Found my husband, and he said that he wanted to find a girl who could have a conversation at a hockey game. And like I said earlier, I'm like, I fit that bill, so that's how I think we fell in love over the hockey game on TV every single night, and definitely share that love still.
It really is a fun game. I was mentioning to Jayne before we started, I fell in love with hockey again through the eyes of my niece, and we went and I grabbed season tickets to the Baby Bees down in Providence. The Bruins are a little bit too expensive here in Boston, but just, a half hour down the road to Providence, and you can experience a whole season of hockey for not a whole lot of money and watching the minor leagues. Yeah, it's fantastic. And it's a really fun game. It's a fast moving game. It's incredible how big and strong and fast professional players are.
Mm-hmm. Oh, absolutely. Yeah, it's fun. We got to know a lot of players individually through the book series. And, not only are they good on the ice, they're just great guys and dads off the ice.
That is something that I've heard a lot of. I know a few guys who have played in minor league hockey. I was an athletic trainer when the current coach of the Pittsburgh Penguins was playing at the high school that I was working at, so I got to know him. That's what I hear, is they're just great guys, great family guys, and great community members.
Oh, they're so supportive. And, I was talking to somebody about the world of inclusion and how in the world of hockey, the world of inclusion isn't a separate team. Everybody wears the exact same jersey. So it's my favorite sport on purpose. I think I love the fast action of it, but I also think the players are good role models, good people, and the ones that we have they're just great dads, and that's just a winning combination right there.
That's fantastic. Now, the 5th book in the series was just released. Can we talk a little bit about that? Because it has an interesting angle, I think.
Oh my gosh, I'd love to. I love to share the story. And every time I do book, this one came out in October, I say the exact same thing every single time. It's like, oh, this is my favorite. Oh, this is my favorite. Well, gosh darn it, this is absolutely my favorite this time. So it tells us, it's drop the puck hockey every day, every way. It tells the story of a girl, Lila, who in the book was born with cerebral palsy, wheelchair bound. She moves to Hockeytown, USA. But in real life, Lila is a 9-year-old whippersnapper who I absolutely adore. She's got $1 million smile. She received the first couple of books, NHL Family. They gave it to her as a gift. She was playing special hockey at the time. She read the books. She loved them. And her mom sent me a couple messages about, Lila's reading these books. She loves it, blah, blah, blah. Here's a video of her skating. And I kind of took my breath away. I'm like, wow. And then we started talking more and more. And, Lila was never invited to a birthday party, which makes me wonder about and I have young nieces, makes me wonder about my nieces not being invited to a birthday party, especially as a 9-year-old kid, girl. In fact, just the daily struggles of not being able to use the scissors, but being able to skate. Mm-hmm. So I actually incorporated a lot of Lila's stories with a little bit of added fiction to it, spruced it up a little bit to fit the series. Lila moves to Hockeytown, USA. She ends up on a special hockey team, ends up with all new friends at a brand new school, gets invited to a sleepover birthday party for the first time, wins an art contest, does all these great things. And so it touches on the inclusiveness again, but also touches about what it's like to have cerebral palsy, the difficulties and the challenges, but also the rewards of it too. So she's a remarkable child that's full of grit and determination, and to be able to give her story a voice through this book, quite frankly, is one of the best things I've ever done in my life. And I've done a lot of crazy stuff, but this is probably the best.
Well, that's really wonderful. I love this. This is, something that I experienced in my life. I worked with kids with severe developmental disabilities, and these are kids who needed help with everything in their lives. The way I was introduced to them was I was working as a lifeguard, and I remember the first time they came down to the pool. I'm like, what in the world are we going to do here? But I ended up teaching a number of them to swim independently without any kind of, life jackets or any kind of flotation devices. And one of the things that blew me away was we had some professionals come down, and I said, Carrie can swim on her own. And they said, no, she can't. I said, no, she can. Come on down and see. And we went to the pool, and they saw her swim, and they still said, no, that's not possible.
It's possible. There's a big word, impossible, in the word impossible. So absolutely, and special needs doesn't necessarily mean, mental or physical. It could, right? So you can be in gifted school programs at a school. You can be, able to do math like a whiz, but you're just not able physically to be able to do certain activities by yourself, like walking or like, holding a pencil the correct way or holding a pencil at all. So there's so many different challenges to, everyday life for so many individuals, especially young kids, that adaptive sports means so much to them because they are able to get that physical activity, which increases their endurance to be able to hopefully have better strength to do, a routine daily events and lives, and to also have that great fulfillment of enjoying a sport. I wasn't an athlete. I was a musician back in the day, especially as a child. So for me to be able to, really see how adaptive sports can work across any type of size of body, any type of ability it's the love of the game.
Absolutely. And I love, because I think this book, I think a lot of people would sit down and think, oh, this is a great book for a kid with a challenge to read. So, yeah, I want to get this book into the hands of every kid who has a physical or developmental challenge to inspire them. And I can't disagree with them. But I think that this is a book that every kid should read because it gives it gives them a look into the life of somebody with challenges. It gives them the understanding that, hey, this kid can be a friend, and there's somebody in your community that can be a great friend.
And that's how the series kind of got. So the series got started all about hockey to begin with. I thought when I first started writing it out, it was going to be a picture book for a 2- and 3-year-old. Boy, was I wrong, because it's a chapter book for 2nd through 6th graders. But from day one, the book has included, I know we have, I think now, trying to add them up real fast in my head, 3 characters that have Down syndrome in the book. One's a sled hockey player. There's Lila that has cerebral palsy. There's a child that has autism in the book. There's a child that has ADHD and all different sorts of learning differences. But it really does teach every child about all the differences that we have in the world, right? And it really does. It got started because my mom was a manager of group homes for people with mentally and physically disabilities. It was incorporated into my lifestyle. It was what I knew. My stepdaughter, at a hockey game, believe it or not, said to me when she was probably 16 years old, very wise 16-year-old, not everybody grew up with your lifestyle. Not everybody had what you had.
Yeah.
And that kind of made a bell go off in my head and thought, oh my gosh, here's a teaching opportunity through literacy to go and say, hey, look, here's my chance. Whatever a professor had in my head some days. Here's my chance to go and teach in an easy way that's not necessarily throwing down someone's throat about this is what you're going to believe, but it's being taught to them through a way of through humor, through a cute story, through, real life inspiring kids that's told throughout these 5 books that makes it, I think, easier for them to understand, relate to, and is authentic.
Yeah. Well, you were preaching to the choir.
Okay.
Because you're right though. The kids that I'd worked with kids. I was in social work before I started performing, before I started podcasting. I worked with kids with mostly emotional issues. When I was at this new facility where these kids had severe developmental disabilities, that was new to me. And it was, and I didn't know how to react. Very quickly, I discovered that these were kids. They had challenges, but, the 12-year-old guys were doing this and had the same kind of urges and curiosity that typical 12-year-old guys had.
Right,
and,
absolutely.
Yeah, and so that was, immediately I had this connection. But one of the things that I discovered, because I had a very public job with these kids, and it was my job to actually get them into the community, I discovered that a lot of people were scared by these kids. I don't know if they were afraid that they were going to catch something, or they were just afraid that they didn't know how to deal with them.
And I think thankfully, that's kind of old school, right? Because I think now if you look at, there's been so much inclusion, so much, in the same classroom that, my daughter is a great generation of, they don't understand, they're part of your world, part of your environment, a part of your class, a part of your friendship groups. So that's fantastic. And I think that's great that we're moving forward in that direction as a society and as a nation.
Yeah. And I love too what you said about this being a great way to share that message with kids, because I think we see, there are a lot of people who want you to believe a certain way, and they demand that you believe in a certain way. And if those folks are loud enough, then people will go, okay, I agree. But they don't really agree. It's just, I don't want to fight with you anymore. Let me just.
Well, it's kind of thrown down your throat, right? It's kind
right.
of that image of it. If you throw it down your throat, you're probably going to swallow the nasty pill and take it. But if you like it, you're taught in a different way, but it's going to be a little bit more meaningful and more impactful.
Absolutely. It does. It becomes, kids are more willing to open up and to be genuine in their acceptance.
Absolutely.
Yeah. What a fascinating journey that you've had, being, having a mom working with
yes.
Kids with challenges, and, finding your hockey playing husband and kids. I'm curious, how has writing the official Adventures series changed you? How have you felt yourself changed as you've written these 5 books?
Oh, well, I'm a lawyer by trade. So, reading legal research and doing legal memos is a completely different world than writing a children's book for a second grader. Mm-hmm. So I think my writing style has changed dramatically. I think I don't sound like a lawyer anymore in the first drafts of a book, which is good. But it also has really taught me to take a step back and realize that I can learn. I mean, I'm in my mid-40s, but I can learn something from a 9-year-old girl that's full of grit and determination. And she has such a love for daily life that she appreciates every single thing. That the fact, silly me, we went to a game together. The first time we met each other, we went to a game together, and I asked her if she wanted to get a Sprite, get a soda. And she said, sure. So I went and got the can, and she looked at me like, you crazy fool, I need a straw to drink it because I can't hold my can. Right?
Yep.
It's just that simple little oh gotcha, now I carry a bunch of straws in my purse because I need to make sure that if I ever see her, we have a pot together, it's going to be okay.
Yeah, and it's going to be okay.
It's stuff like that. I know it might sound silly to you, but it really is that there's nobody's smile that's bigger to me and better than Lila's smile. And that smile is completely genuine. And she has struggles that you and I can't understand. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. But it doesn't get her down, and she is full of guts. I mean, she's full of guts. There's no limitations. You have to give praise to her parents for not being afraid to sit back and say, oh well, mm-hmm. maybe in a couple of years you can do blah, blah, blah. No. She's out, she went, skiing this weekend, winter skiing. She goes water skiing, for goodness sakes. I mean, it is the ultimate best. And it's just, I think and she doesn't know this, right? But her teaching me that to live every single day to the fullest and to appreciate every single little thing and not get caught up on the, stuff that doesn't matter.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right? It makes you appreciate life. Sometimes you might read something on social media and be angry about political posts for the day, right? But at the end of the day, I mean, come on.
Yeah.
Look at little Lila's life and be appreciative of what you have. And it's similar to that because she 100% loves life and is making it to her fullest that she possibly can. I'm not quite sure I do that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. As you're telling that story about the can and the straw and Lila's smile, I could see it in my head. I kind of know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, she's a cutie. Holy smokes.
Yeah.
Cute kid.
That's really wonderful. Give us a brief little thumbnail of all 5 of the books. We know about Lila, and we're going to meet Lila in book 5.
So I'll back up from the start. So the first 2 books, the first book is kind of sets the stage, I like to say. It's probably the easiest level of the reading. It's based on 2 brothers, Blaine and Colin. Colin is named after Matt Cullen, mm-hmm. who is the veteran NHL player. And he's the older brother in the book. Again, he's the captain of the squad, kind of full of himself kind of a kid, kind of the hot shot on the ice. His brother Blaine is the unsung hero of the first tale. He has Down syndrome, ends up being the Mr. King of sportsmanship, rallies the team together, and really steals it. So those 2 continue on into book 2, and then we bring in a couple new neighbors. We have a traditional Minnesota hockey child in book 2. Then we bring in 2 girls who make the boys team and show them a thing or two. Book 3, everybody's off to do summer hockey together. So the girls go off to Finland for an international tournament. So there's some Finnish words in there. They maybe don't necessarily win the tournament, which is a lesson by itself. Team USA plays Team Canada. And then the 2 special hockey players in the book at that point put skates on for the very first time and try to skate during summer lessons, to what it's like to put those skates on and take a couple strides. And then the 3 boys go off to summer hockey camps where they get themselves in full of shenanigans of what typically goes on at hockey camps. The 4th book is kind of a real favorite too. As I said, I was a political science professor, so I have a huge love for politics and legislative making. So book 4 is called Day. And the book, it talks all about Hockey Day and how there's a special hockey tournament right next door to a youth hockey tournament outdoors. They bring in a couple kids from California to play on the team, so they come and learn what's life in like rural America. But the kids in the book also go and lobby the state capitol, the governor, to make Hockey Day an official holiday in Minnesota. So also it's a little bit, it gets a little mix in there with the legislative process. And then of course book 5 is all about, Lila moving to Hockeytown, USA and all the great things that happen there. There's these are chapter books that have illustrations throughout. They're geared for 2nd through 6th graders. And I kind of feel like the books grow with the child. Mm-hmm. So book 1 is like a 1st through 2nd grade, and then book 2 is kind of 2nd through 3rd. And by the time you get to book 5, it really is that, above average 4th grader to 6th grader. Mm-hmm. There's a glossary in back of all the books. My goal is if there's a certain word the kid will get stuck on, they should be able to read the definition and be able to keep on trucking through it themselves.
Oh, great. This is fantastic. Now, there's 5 books in the series. Do you envision 6, 7, and 8?
Oh, I envision 6.
6. Okay.
Yeah, I think right now I'm currently working on book 6. We hope to have it out in the fall. And then I think that this series is going to end. Right now it's a hardcover book. There's illustrations. I've been encouraged to start a paperback chapter book, kind of like the old boxcar children's style kind of a series. More of a deeper storyline, and probably more geared for that 4th through 6th grader. So more the older young readers, so to speak. Not necessarily, it's really the first couple of books are really geared again for that 1st through 3rd grader. So I kind of feel like I have right now, like a big, reading range.
Yeah.
So the next series is going to probably lower that a little bit and maybe make the characters more expansive and more interesting. Although there's a lot going on in these first 5 books. When you start talking about the storylines and how it all comes together.
Yeah, well, it certainly is. And I think this is a great series. I can imagine any kid who loves hockey would absolutely love this series. And like you said, hockey really is it's become a universal sport. Women are involved in hockey and they play on a huge, they're fantastic. They're phenomenal players. And it's spread all across the U.S. and Canada, and it's all over the world. So, what a huge audience that you have for the official series, the official adventures. Where can folks find out more about the first 5 books?
The best place to go to is our website. We got loads of information. You can see all the interviews out there. You can see all our pictures. You can see the covers of the books. You can read about. The website is www.officialadventures.org. We've got a phenomenal Facebook page. We got quite a few followers. So that's also called Official Adventures for our Facebook page. But really the best place is the website, www.officialadventures.org. Drop me an email message. You'll hear back from one of us on the team, probably within minutes. Mm-hmm. And just let us know what you think. We love to hear from kids, too. That's where I get a lot of my story ideas.
Awesome.
Lots of the illustrations come from pictures being sent in about, here's little Johnny doing blah, blah, blah.
Oh, great. That's cool. Well, we're really excited. We had a great time speaking to the author of The Official Adventures, Jayne Jones. Jayne, thanks so much for being part of our show.
Oh, my pleasure. You guys have a great day.
Please be sure to join us for the next edition of the Reading with Your Kids podcast. Our guest will be Brooke Van Sickle. You may remember Brooke was on the show about a year, maybe a little bit more. She was on the show talking about her blog, Journey to Kidlit. It's documenting her journey, her adventure to become a published children's author. Well, she is a published children's author. She's going to be telling us all about Pirates Stuck at Sea, a really, really delightful book. And that's the next edition of the Reading with Your Kids podcast. If you are the author of a fantastic children's book, we would love to have your book with us at our 2 spring events. That's right, at the East Boston branch of the Boston Public Library and at South Shore Kids Expo. This is a wonderful way for you to introduce your books to thousands of people who will be attending those great events. You can find out more about it by going to our website, readingwithyourkids.com/spring. And you can also get in touch with our account executive, Peggy Cotto, by emailing her at peggy@jedlie.com, and Jedlie is spelled Jedlie. I want to thank the folks who made today's show so very wonderful. Of course, we want to thank Jayne Jones. Be sure to check out the official adventures. I want to thank my amazing team. Of course, my amazing producer, Fatima Khan. Be sure to check out her blog at readingwithyourkids.com. The aforementioned account executive, Peggy Cotto. Peggy is amazing. Be sure to check her out and email her if you would like to be a part of our great promotional services. I want to thank my beautiful wife for all the support she gives me. I want to thank Augie the doggy for having my back here in the studio. But most of all, I want to thank you. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us. And as always, thank you so very much for taking the time to make the world a better place by reading with your kids. I'll be looking for you in the next edition of the Reading with Your Kids podcast.